Hello and welcome to Hot Issues. This week, we're going to look at many issues. We're going to try and understand what Occupy Ghana was all about, or what it's about. We're going to find out whether it has any links with the new Patriotic Party. We're going to look at some of the interesting personalities in that movement. And we would also take a look at some of the issues which affect the telecom industry and a few others. Welcome to Hot Issues. Hello and welcome back to Hot Issues. And as I indicated, we're going to have a very exciting conversation about Occupy Ghana, about the new Patriotic Party, about corruption, about the telecom industry, and many other issues if we have the time. And it is my very distinguished pleasure to introduce, I suppose, the young businessman who is now venturing into politics on the ticket of the new Patriotic Party, who was very closely associated with the Occupy Ghana movement, Mr. George Andah. So you're welcome to the studio.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Okay. Where do we start? Let's start with Occupy Ghana.
I don't speak for Occupy Ghana, but we can still talk about Occupy Ghana. Yeah.
So Occupy Ghana, what was it, or what is it?
Well, I think Occupy Ghana is about a group of responsible Ghanaians that believe that there's some kind of gap in terms of systems and structures that are supposed to drive good governance and proper economic management. And these individuals have come together and are raising issues and proposing solutions to make Ghana work again. Occupy Ghana is a political movement, but it is not a partisan movement as an organization. That doesn't stop individuals who are members of Occupy from having any kind of partisan association. But the good thing is that when we come together as Occupy Ghana, we put Ghana first, and we do things that are supposed to drive the interests of Ghana and Ghanaians, and not any partisan agenda. So basically, that's what Occupy Ghana is about, and that's basically what our DNA is.
So, who are responsible Ghanaians and who may not be responsible Ghanaians?
Well, I think, I'm not saying that if you are not an occupier, it means that you are not a responsible Ghanaian. That's not my question.
Yes. That's not my question.
A responsible Ghanaian is a Ghanaian that has a different kind of thinking, that believes that irrespective of one's religion, one's age, one's gender, one's political affiliation, you can look at issues and shift through any kind of things that are going to cloud your direction. You can delve into the thick of the issue and sort of unwrap it and come out with possible solutions that would address those issues. You don't have to be biased based on who you like or who you do not like, but it's just basically behaving like a proper professional in everything that you do, and then addressing things. And there are a lot of responsible Ghanaians around.
Now, was the Ghanaian Occupy movement inspired in any way by the worldwide movement?
Well, I think to a large extent, the members of Occupy wanted some kind of action. I mean, the members of Occupy, they wanted to see a different kind of Ghana. They wanted to see a different kind of direction from the leadership. There were so many systems that seemed to be collapsing, and I guess it was getting quite frustrating, sitting back or sitting on the fence and not talking. And the perception was that the middle class or the different classes, that if you can call them classes in Ghana, were seemingly unconcerned about issues that affected the country until it got to an election year, and everything seemed to be about the next election. And I think for us in Occupy, we decided that it's better that we start talking about the issues. It's better that we started trying to find solutions to the issues, or even trying to understand the issues. Because sometimes you may feel something is wrong, but it's because you don't have enough information, and that is what clouds your sense of direction. And so if you sort of go out and try and delve down into the issues, you can come up with a possible solution. And I guess that's what motivated Occupy Ghana, and that is what drives the individuals in Occupy Ghana. It's some kind of, I'll say Occupy Ghana is an organization where you are monitored and I won't say controlled, but you are managed by your peers. So you sort of stand out. You believe in certain values. You believe in certain principles, and then you sort of putting all that you can to try and make Ghana work. I'm not saying that anybody in Occupy, including myself, are angels. I mean, I'm no angel, but I guess that it's the effort, is that attempt to get out of your comfort zone, to get off the fence and try and make a difference.
But was the movement in any way inspired by the worldwide movement? That was my question.
I'll say there's a bit of a coincidence. Mm-hmm. I mean, yes, there was a lot of noise at that time, but the main driver was the situation that we're facing in the country.
So you were not inspired by the worldwide movement?
Well, I say there was some coincidence. I mean, you don't live in a world of isolation. Definitely things that happen around the world affect you. And clearly, if you could be inspired, or you could be motivated by people power, you could then stand up and say that, listen, let us also stand for what we believe in, and it's possible that we can make the difference.
Because the point I'm driving at is that the worldwide movement is a radical left-wing movement.
Well, you see,
essentially left-wing movement.
Yes, I agree, but you don't copy blindly. Even if you're copying, you pick up the best. You look at what you have, what your internal strengths are, and then if you can be innovative and you can be creative, you can put out something new out there. I think that the difference is that with Occupy Ghana, we sift through the issues, we try and find out the reasoning driving some of those things, and we try and do a lot of education of the citizenry. Mm-hmm. We try and do a lot of dialogue. If you realize, most of the things that we do, there are seminars, there are letters that we are writing, there are petitions that we are putting out there. We are not a violent organization. That doesn't mean that we don't go into the streets. The streets is probably one of the last things that Occupy Ghana would be looking at. But depending on what the situation is, if Occupy Ghana needs to hit the streets, within the law of the country, that will happen.
I recall when you first hit the streets, some friends of mine tried to join the demonstration. I mean, Asamoah Boati and others, and they were heckled and thrown out. Why?
You see, you assuming that the 1st July was led by Occupy Ghana. The fact is that a lot of members of Occupy Ghana participated in the 1st July demonstration. But the petition or the call for 1st July was actually led by a group calling themselves Concerned Ghanaians for Responsible Governance. Now, what happened at that event was that there was a decision that no politician should take advantage of what was happening and try and make a political or a partisan statement. And if you recall, our brother that you are referring to at that time was standing for flag bearer. And he indeed appeared on the scene, and he tried to make a political or a partisan statement, not a partisan statement, and he was turned down. So I guess that is the difference, and a lot of people seem to have misunderstood what it was at that time. I think it was quite inappropriate, and when you are dealing with a crowd that is charged, you need to gauge, the behavior of the crowd, and then you don't go out there and do something for your own benefit. It's something that was owned by these people. You don't come there and try and sort of own it. At that time that Asamoah Boati came to the scene, the crowd had moved close to the Flagstaff House. And the only people that they were willing to listen to was either the president, the chief of staff, the deputy chief of staff. So anybody that sort of tried to come in at that time was not going to do the crowd any good. He wasn't, I mean, the crowd was not expecting someone like him at that time.
Okay. I think we can leave it for now at that point. But are there any visible links between the New Patriotic Party and Occupy Ghana?
As far as I'm concerned, there are no visible links between the New Patriotic Party and
Couldn't
Occupy
you
Ghana
be a
and
visible
Occupy
link?
Ghana as an organization. Okay, I'm an individual. I am George Andah. I go into Occupy Ghana. When I go into Occupy Ghana, I am part of Occupy Ghana. It is a brand called Occupy Ghana. Occupy Ghana is bigger than the Occupy Ghana brand is bigger than the George Andah brand. So I do not see how the George Andah brand can influence Occupy Ghana being a New Patriotic Party affiliate or arm or whatever it is. In any case, I mean, people keep on saying this, and I keep on asking, can you tell us one thing that Occupy Ghana has done, Occupy Ghana has said, that has not been in the interest of Ghana? Or can you tell us one thing that Occupy Ghana has done that has been biased towards the MPP? I mean, I'm sure nobody, until now, nobody has been able to point anything out. And so sometimes I wonder why we keep on spending time on this issue. Because to be honest, I don't see, I mean, like I say, we are no angels. Maybe there's something that we have done, maybe some actions or inactions, maybe fueling some of these things. But for me, I don't see, nobody has been able to convince me that there's anything close to Occupy Ghana being an associate of the MPP government.
You honestly...
I mean, the MPP party, the National Patriotic Party, not government, sorry.
You honestly and truly are a member of the New Patriotic Party.
Yes, I am.
You believe in the program and philosophy of the party.
Yes, I do.
That is a bias you take to Occupy Ghana.
I beg to differ. Listen.
So let me explain. Just a minute. Let me explain.
Yeah.
So when you go to Occupy Ghana, you forget about your commitment to MPP ideology, program, philosophy, and so on. Is that possible?
Well, I asked you a question. Can you tell me one thing that Occupy Ghana has done whilst I was there that informs this position that you're trying to take?
No, I'm just an innocent interviewer.
Well, so once there's no reason, until now, Occupy Ghana with me, okay, has been able to put Ghana first. Occupy Ghana with me and my MPP association has been able to look at issues first. Occupy Ghana with me and my MPP association has been able to give praise where praise is due. When His Excellency President Mahama made reference to the Auditor General's issue and requested his ministers to take the directives of the Auditor General seriously, we did give praise. When the Minister of Finance raised the issue about the surcharging and this allowance in the budget, and he said that was because it was primarily driven because of what Occupy Ghana was doing, we gave him that recognition. And so, I mean, we'll give praise where praise is due, and we challenge where we need to challenge. It's not a matter of which political party you like or which leader you admire. It has nothing to do with that. It's about Ghana first, and I believe that with you in particular, irrespective of whatever political coloration that you may have, to a large extent, you will try and be as balanced as possible, unless you tell me that is not possible as far as you are concerned. Is that possible with you as a human being? Are your actions and inactions 100% driven by your political coloration?
When we get to the point where you are interviewing me, I will answer your questions.
I thought we were having a chat.
I will answer your questions when you interview me.
I thought we were having a chat. But you wanted a talkative.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that you wanted somebody who just be answering questions.
I'm very satisfied with your performance so far.
Thank you, sir.
But what I wanted to know was whether it was possible.
I said, until now, we have proven that we've proven that it's possible.
What I want to know is whether it is possible for you, businessman, articulate young businessman George Andah, NPP, believing in the philosophy of the party, accepting the program of the party, in one breath, to move into Occupy Ghana and forget all your commitments?
You see, let me give you an example. I worked as MTN. I've been in charge of marketing as MTN. Developed a lot of marketing plans, current and future plans for MTN. Moved into a different telco, totally different environment at Airtel in Nigeria. Did what I could at Airtel in Nigeria. Had nothing to do with what I knew, what I didn't know about Airtel, about MTN in Ghana. It was basically looking at what the issues were at that time, understanding the right insights, and going out with a proper implementation plan.
But you are using the same marketing skill, the same philosophy that you have learned and so on.
Listen, if you look at...
You are still using your skills as a marketer.
Listen, if you look
as a marketer.
If you look at the entry of MTN in Ghana, and you look at the entry of Glow in Ghana, it was totally different executions, totally different concepts. Okay?
I'm talking about the underlying principles.
No, because it depends on what the insight is. Okay, I mean, once you have the right insight, you can look at what the execution is. You don't look at the execution and then come to the insight. So, like I said, the fact that I have worked with different telcos, okay, and I've had isolated experiences with those telcos, and my knowledge of one telco didn't affect what I was going to do with another telco. It's for me, it justifies, or it should give you that level of assurance that beyond party coloration, there's a bigger issue that drives certain individuals, and I'm proud to be part of those individuals that look at the bigger issues. It's probably a coincidence that the party that I admire, the party that I support, is currently in opposition. And it seems like everything that, or most of the things that we seem to be doing are bashing the ruling government. But, my big brother, if you take the issues of the Auditor General, for example, this disallowance and surcharge, it has nothing to do with the party. It has nothing to do with His Excellency President John Mahama. It's about systems and structures. And indeed, if it was the MPP that were in power, and we realized that there was a gap or there was a challenge with the Auditor General, would have gone out and we would have tried to fix it. So I think we should be encouraging this kind of behavior. We should be encouraging this kind of thinking. My friend Sidney Kesley Hayford keeps on referring to it as a new Ghanaian. I think that we should be giving back to more and more of this new Ghanaian attitude, this new Ghanaian mentality, where we could be members of certain political parties, but we talk issues and we can work together to bring out issues, to bring out solutions to those issues.
But sir, you would agree that joining a political party is not or cannot be the same as applying for a job with a telecom?
Well, yes.
And the commitments are different.
Yes.
These are about principled commitments, they are lifelong commitments, and so on.
Yes.
You agree?
Oh, yes, I agree. But I've just given an example of what I've been able to do, what my team and I have been able to do. Okay? And like I said, you were asking questions in a certain direction. If you were able to let me know one example where you think that the thinking or the direction of Occupy Ghana has been influenced by a certain kind of partisan coloration, we could discuss that. And then if we have indeed been influenced the wrong way, I'll be the first to admit that we've been influenced the wrong way.
This is your show.
Yes.
I'm only asking questions for you to answer the best.
Well, I think if the situation hasn't arisen, it's just fair that you give us the benefit of the doubt, because we haven't done anything to suggest that this is going to happen. So I think that we should rather be looking at the positive things that Occupy has been doing, or the positive things that Occupy can do, or if there are areas that you think that Occupy Ghana should be looking in this direction and we haven't yet looked at that direction, then you can also be helping us to build ourselves and to make Ghana work.
Well, welcome back to Hot Issues. We are in conversation with Mr. George Andah, a businessman. And we are told that he wants to go to Parliament. Sir, is it true that you want to go to Parliament? You want to be a parliamentarian?
Well, okay. I think if the people of Eutu Senior West decide that I'm the best person to represent them, I'll be honored to serve. Right now, what I'm doing is I'm going through the internal primaries for the MPP, and that's going to happen on the 13th of June. And I hope that I'm selected out of the 6 aspirants that have shown interest so far. Then we cross that hurdle and then go into the main elections in 2016. So yes, I believe that I'm ready to serve the people of the Ewuti Senior West, and by extension, ready to serve Ghana and ready to serve my party.
So you have decided that you want to be a parliamentarian?
I've decided that I'm ready to serve my party. I'm decided I'm ready to serve my people. And I'm decided I'm ready to serve Ghana.
As a parliamentarian?
Yes, sir.
Why?
I think, like Dr. Otabil said.
You mean the pastor, the priest?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
He said some time back that there's a need for a change in leadership direction in this country. And I think that if you look at the different arms of governance, the arm that is widely represented by the people is Parliament. And I believe that I have certain skills and competencies that I can put to bear to help shaping the direction of leadership in this country. I'm not saying that I have any magic, but I think it's sometimes you need some freshness. Sometimes you need some newness to fire up the whole system, and I believe that is one of the attributes that I bring. There's a lot that we see going on wrong in this country. For a long time, a lot of us have just sat on the fence and hoped that things would happen and things would change. But I believe that there comes a time when you need to get off the fence and you need to go into the front line of the activity, get out of your comfort zone. If you realize, I really like going out of my comfort zone a lot. I mean, in most of the organizations that I worked, as soon as I became extremely comfortable and I knew that there was a team that was capable to deliver, I took the risk and I bowed out gracefully and I took up more challenges. And I believe that at this time in my life, I want to take up the challenge of serving my people. I want to build I want to be part of the One Ghana agenda that is being built. I believe that Ghana can work again, and I'm sure that you've heard the quotation by Dr. Baumia, where he says he's into politics because, like many Ghanaians of his generation and the youth in general, he refuses to accept that what we are witnessing in Ghana is the best that Ghana has to offer. And for me, I identify with the statement that this is not the best that Ghana has to offer. We can do more together. It's not about an individual, but it's about people coming together and putting in their best.
So what are these skills and competencies that you bring to the fold?
I mean, if you forget about the functional skills, I believe that there are a lot of leadership skills that I've acquired. There's a lot of experience that I've acquired, and like I said, the benefit of this whole thing is not just about one individual, but it's about picking up the strengths from different people and then putting it together into a kind of a pot, so you're getting a bigger sum than what you anticipate. Clearly, I come from a science background before I went into marketing or into business, so I'm a bit more analytical in looking at issues. I try and drill down.
More rational.
Well, you can call it. You can call it rational.
Scientists are supposed to be more rational.
Yeah.
You know,
okay.
So.
And the fact that when you know that something has to be done, it has to be done. I mean, there has to be an end to everything that you want to do. You work towards that plan, and you work towards options for a successful execution. And you pick up learnings if you're not able to deliver the first, then you pick up learnings, you apply those learnings, and then you sort of build on. And I think for me, that is a big advantage, because I look at all possible options for making things work. I I game my competition. I look at what the right insights are. I look at what is it that, if I use the marketing term, what is it that the customer really wants, and how can I deliver that the customer wants in a way that is better than any of my competitors, and in a cost-effective way. So that kind of thinking for me adds to the rich blend that already exists within the parliamentary structure. And I think that if I'm able to sail through, that will be a great achievement for myself, and I believe that Ghana as a whole is going to be a big beneficiary.
Are there no other ways, perhaps better ways, of serving your country than being a parliamentarian?
Well, there are a lot of ways. Some of us have tried to serve in different ways. Served in corporate Ghana, helped build great brands, served in Occupy Ghana. Now I've taken a back seat in Occupy Ghana voluntarily, so that you'll not be asking me these kind of questions. But yes, there are different ways, but I'm sure that any which way that I took, I'll still be asked, why not another way? Sometimes you need to go with your conviction. You need to go on with what you think is an area that you can deliver, rather than listen to what everybody else is saying. And I believe that the space that I've chosen is a space that I feel I can deliver, and I can try and make a difference. Like I said, it's about joining the rich blend that is already there to make the blend even better.
I suppose you would admit that you delivered when you were in charge of marketing at MTN and Airtel, that you delivered as a marketer.
I would say that I worked with a great team, a team that believed in my leadership, a team that believed that we had to be number one,
so
a team that was hungry. I delivered as a leader, but I couldn't have delivered if I didn't have the support of the team.
Agreed.
Yes.
So it's not about delivering.
Yes.
It's not about being a parliamentarian.
Yes.
Gives you something else which makes you deliver. You've been delivering already.
Yes.
So what is it that makes you feel or compelled to become a parliamentarian?
Because I believe that what we experience in Ghana is not the best that we can offer. I don't see my children surviving in this country. I don't see myself at 80 years being happy if the state of affairs continue as is now.
And the only way to change that is to be a member of parliament.
There is one way of changing it, and that's the way that I've chosen.
Yeah, but why is this way preferable to other ways?
Because I believe that this is where I can make the most impact at this time in my life.
Most impact?
Yes.
Most impact?
Yes.
What is that?
Why are you interviewing me here today? It's because I've taken a decision to go into parliament.
I'm not so sure.
Well, so why are you interviewing me here?
Well, my producers would answer that.
Yeah, but I guess the fact that you've even considered calling me here to be interviewed, for me, suggests that I may be doing something that is good, or I may be doing something that is bad. I take it that is the former, and I am convinced that with these opportunities.
But you had several interviews when we were with MTN. You had several interviews when we were with Airtel.
It's not just about
the interview. So it's not about the interview.
Yes, it's about the opportunity. Your producer or you, I believe, are seeing something different in me, or are seeing something unique in me that you think that is worth your effort, is worth your time to give me the honor and the platform to come and have this privileged discussion with you. I could have done it in some other forms, but I've taken
your choice.
This is my passion.
This
is my preference. This is my passion.
So,
yes.
Why is it on the ticket of the New Patriotic Party?
Because I believe in the New Patriotic Party. I believe in the ideology of the New Patriotic Party. I believe in the leadership of Nana Akufo-Addo and Dr. Bawumia, and I would love to serve the New Patriotic Party at this time in my life.
Because we're talking about what the country is now. That's your primary motivation for getting involved in politics.
Well,
isn't it? The need to change from what we are now.
I could say that it's probably a catalyst. It's probably a catalyst, but I'd have gone into politics anyway one day. I would have done it, but It's probably been a
whether the situation was better or bad or whatever. One day
I would have loved to save my people. Yes.
So that it is not the current situation which is propelling you into politics.
The current situation may be a catalyst.
So what are those underlying factors propelling you into politics? The serious factors beyond the current condition.
I think there's one that sums it all. There's a lack of leadership direction.
Okay. Let us stick with that.
Yeah.
Current conditions, leadership direction, and so on. What is it that substantially has changed from the days when the NPP was in power?
I think if you go out into the streets, when you talk to people, you can feel their pulse, you can feel the buzz, you can sense the frustration, you can feel their pain. And I think even people in government are currently saying that we're going through some harsh times, we're going through some difficult times. If you take the situation of Dundum, for example, if we had planned properly, we wouldn't have been in the situation that we find ourselves in. If you take the issue of, I think last year when we experienced that serious depreciation of the cedi and the dollar was just flying, the issues that were driving the depreciation of the cedi, almost everybody kept on talking about it. What happened? The Bank of Ghana came up with certain rules and regulations that even worsened the situation. With proper leadership, this thing wouldn't have happened. Yes, we did the honorable thing to reverse it, but it took us a bit too long to reverse some of those things. You talk about corruption or the perception of corruption, and there are weak systems and structures to make it unattractive for people to be corrupt. But I think for ourselves as a society, we also seem to be encouraging people that are corrupt and recognizing people that are corrupt. And I believe that the fixing of the problem starts from leadership. And this is the kind of change that we want. This is the kind of change that we deserve as Ghanaians. We should realize that power belongs to the citizens. The citizens elect the politicians to lead them. It doesn't mean that when the politicians are elected, the citizens are supposed to be forgotten, or the politicians who feel like the citizens have a weak memory or a poor memory, and so we can do everything that we want, and when it comes to the time of elections, we pump in projects, we put in money, and then we buy the votes of people. I think that we need to stand up now, and we need to start making that conscious effort. We could say that it's just about leadership, but if you and I don't do the small bit that we can, and we keep on sitting on the fence, nothing will change. So in as much as we'll say that yes, overall the responsibility lies with the leader, I think you and I have some amount of responsibility as individuals to make that conscious effort to make things work in this country.
Let's take some of the issues that you raised.
Yeah.
The depreciation of the cedi.
Yeah.
The cedi has been depreciating for 40 years.
Have you looked at the percentage depreciation over the last 2 years?
I've looked at the percentage of depreciation over the last 40 years, and it's more than 26,000%.
And if you look at the last 2 years, okay, if you look at the last, or even let's say the last 3 years, it has been very, very steep. You would admit that.
We've had a depreciation.
Yeah, but if you look at the trend, if you look at it, I agree with you. If you look at the trend, there's been a consistent depreciation. Okay, if you look at 2008, the cedi was fairly stable. Yeah, I mean when President Kufuor was there,
but it's not true.
It was fairly stable. Okay, if you look at the trend,
so now we are talking about degrees.
But of course. But I mean, like I said, I'm a scientist. Okay, you take a decision based on the information that's available, and that's what informs you. So if you look at the trend, you would see that over a period, there has been such steep depreciation. And if you look at what happened at that time, you realize that it's more or less like it's been...
It's not that bad. It was bad, but it wasn't that bad.
It was bad in the past, but it wasn't that bad. But over a period, it's become, for want of a better word, like terrible.
Okay.
Yeah. Worse, yes.
Okay.
That's a better word to use.
So you're actually talking about taking us from worse to bad.
No. We're talking about
Explain.
we're talking about taking Ghana from the present state that we are in to a Ghana that works.
Did Ghana work when the cedi was falling in 2008? Was Ghana working then?
I believe Ghana was working.
When the cedi was falling?
I believe
in value.
You see, it's the cedi was falling, but Ghana was working. Things were happening. I mean, let me digress a bit. I'm sure that if you ask TV3 how much money they are spending to buy fuel to power their gensets to run these programs.
I was going to come to Doomso.
Yeah.
I wanted us to stick with the cedi.
No, but it all, you see, they're not isolated. They're all linked together.
Okay.
Because once you are spending more than you have access to, then you are in crisis, be it an individual, be it a government or whatever it is. So there is a crisis, and I believe that the government have said that there's a crisis and they're trying to fix it. So
yeah, but there was a crisis when your party was also in power.
Yes, but it was fixed. It may not have been totally solved, okay, but it was fixed.
To what extent?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, it was fixed. If you give me any reason, any facts to suggest that it wasn't fixed, or any facts to suggest that Ghana was worse under an MPP administration than it is now, we can debate it.
So now we are talking about relativity.
No, we are not talking about
better, good, bad, and so on. Is that what we're talking about?
Crazy.
Or we are talking about fundamental changes,
Crazy.
which will change the existing situation.
Crazy. We are talking about a lot of fundamental changes. We're talking about a fundamental change in terms of leadership direction. We are talking about fundamental change in terms of the fight against corruption. We are talking about fundamental change in terms of commitment to provide sufficient energy to drive industry in Ghana. We are talking about fundamental change in terms of providing good quality education in Ghana. We are talking about fundamental change in terms of social services, fundamental change in terms of health, fundamental change in terms of systems and structures to make Ghana work.
Okay.
And in all these areas, there are question marks.
I'm sure you know about Dr. Charles Iwekubrobi.
Yes, I do.
And I'm sure you know that he's an energy expert.
Yes, I do.
And I'm sure you've heard about his comments about how the Doomso problem was handled in the MPP era. And we are also aware of the fact that he's a leading member of the MPP, or was a leading member of the MPP.
Yes.
You're aware of all of that?
Yes, I am.
Okay. We'll take a short break. Well, welcome back to Hot Issues. And we are in conversation with Mr. George Andah. I introduced him as a businessman, but he's more than a businessman. He's also into politics, and he's done many things before. And I remember him as the man at the helm of marketing of MTN. How are the telcos doing?
I think they're doing well. Obviously, the shift is from voice to data services, and you can see the excitement that's happening in data. I think the ones that are doing well are doing well. The ones that need to play catch up are also trying to look at how to play catch up. But I think the industry is still quite exciting, and I think it's booming.
What about the average Ghanaian? What is in the telcos for the average Ghanaian?
The telcos have provided a lot for the average Ghanaian. I mean, the fact that there's an extremely convenient means of communication and that has improved productivity in this country significantly is one plus. The fact that the telcos have provided significant or a lot of employment, not just for the people that work directly in their businesses, but even if you look at the retail and distribution channel, You look at the hawkers by the roadside. There's a lot of employment that has been provided. If you look at the corporate social responsibility initiatives that almost all the telcos have participated in, I guess that they have significantly contributed to Ghana. If you look at the music industry, you can tell that the telcos have helped grow the music industry, and I think there's even some good partnership with Musica that they have. So I think the telcos have done a lot for Ghana. In terms of payment of taxes, I remember when I was at MTN. MTN used to be the largest taxpayer in the country. I don't know whether any other company has ever taken that position now, but I mean clearly the telcos have done a lot for this country. But
there are still complaints about the quality of services. Many complaints about the quality of services.
Well, yes, there are complaints about the quality of service, but I'm not going to hold brief for the telcos. There are times that the telcos have challenges, but I believe that if telco quality of service has changed significantly for the worse, it's probably driven a lot by the power challenges that we're having now, because none of the cell sites were provisioned to run for so long on generators. You have a situation where I remember in the past, almost every other week, there were fiber cuts. People were cutting the fiber and pulling the fiber out, and so yes, there have been some challenges as far as quality of service is concerned. But I believe that to a large extent, the service quality in Ghana is great. I think the regulator has done quite a lot, and I think the telcos themselves are being extremely responsible to use service quality as one of the differentiators to be able to attract customers onto themselves. So I agree with you. The customer would always ask for more, and it's the customer's right to ask for the best service quality. And I believe that they're working towards it.
As a potential parliamentarian, are you or are you not worried about the situation with Ghanaian interest in the telecom sector is getting smaller and smaller?
I think when you say it's getting smaller and smaller, what specific example are you making reference to?
We used to have a dominant role in Ghana Telecom.
Okay.
Now Vodafone is in there. MTN, I'm not so sure of the extent of Ghanaian interest in terms of shareholding in the company, Airtel and so on. Ghanaian interest in the telecom sector is getting smaller and smaller. Are you worried about it?
I think it's more for me. The issue is not really about who owns a piece. I mean, yes, it would be great to have a lot of Ghanaian interest, and I think that there are some kind of negotiations for the telcos to float some shares on the stock exchange. But until that is done, I'm not sure that the issue really has to do with who owns a stake in the business. I think for me, I'll look at it from the customer's point of view. Is the industry moving along with the customer? Is the industry anticipating the needs of the customer? Is the industry respecting the customer enough? And I guess that is one side of the coin that we should look at.
But everywhere, like ownership is an issue. Ownership of national resources and the exploitation.
Well, you see, if you have a situation, I mean, if you own this nice attire of yours and you give it to me that I have a pot belly, it won't fit me. It fits you. So you own it. You have a way of driving the market. You have a way of improving your shareholder value.
We own the airwaves. Why are we just giving it to people?
But you're not giving the airwaves. You're selling the licenses. The telcos are paying for the licenses.
Is that sufficient?
I would
Is
rather.
that just sufficient to sell licenses and stay back?
Well, I guess that if you take the LTE licenses, for example, that we issued.
What is LTE?
Okay, let me say the fourth generation network that is more towards data, the licenses that organizations like Selfline have got. I think one of the key things was that then it needed to be owned by Ghanaian companies. So a number of licenses have been issued out. But how many of these organizations have rolled out beyond Selfline? Okay, so it is not just the issue of having a Ghanaian ownership. If you have Ghanaian ownership, but you don't have a solid business plan, you don't have the proper resourcing, you don't have that passion, that commitment to go out there and win, that winning spirit, then, I mean, you'll probably be worse off than we are. But I believe that the fact that there was direction, okay, that at least for 4G licenses, there must be a significant Ghanaian ownership. In fact, none of the existing telcos could apply for a 4G license. It was given to Ghanaians. So the Ghanaians hold those licenses, but not all of them have been able to roll out yet. So I guess you balance Ghanaian ownership with putting in place some kind of proper financing arrangement, some kind of human resource or capacity arrangement to support the industry that you want to build, the industry that you want to grow. And those are some of the things that I believe don't tie in perfectly to encourage increased Ghanaian participation in the telco industry.
Your desire to become a parliamentarian.
Yes, sir.
In the new Patriotic Party, there are 5 people who say that they're going to beat you.
Yes. There were 9.
And there are 5.
Yeah, there used to be 9, but there are 5 now.
So altogether you are 6.
Yes.
How do you evaluate your chances against the 5?
I think they're equally competent, but I believe that I stand tall. I believe that from my interaction with the delegates, they are saying that they want somebody like me to lead
Everybody
them.
says that.
Well, so I mean, I think
in the presidential primaries, all your candidates said what you're saying.
I think the fact that somebody like Honorable Opeabe, who used to be the MP, and indeed he went to pick up his nomination form. The fact that he's taking a step back and he's saying that, listen, he's read the scene, he's listened to what the delegates are saying. He believes that if he steps down and he supports my bid, it will be good for the party, it will be good for the country, and that's a decision that he's taking. So I think
because he's tried before and lost, and he knows that he's probably going to lose again. It doesn't change the situation.
But President Mills tried before. He lost, and he came.
But he knew that he could come back and make a difference.
Yeah, but if the delegates are telling you that, you know something, the qualities that we want, the kind of leader that we want, we think that it's in this person.
How are you going to do against the foreign minister, Hannah Tete?
I think we'll cross that bridge when we get there. And for now, my focus is on the primaries. But it's for me, it's
but
not.
If you're not sure that you're going to beat her now,
I'm coming. Yeah. For me, it's not just about me. It's not just about the party. I think if we think that we're going to rely on the strength of the party or the strength of George to wrestle that seat, then we'll be living a fool's paradise. I think it's the people that are going to decide. And the vibe, the buzz from the people is that we want something different. We're tired. We want somebody that is going to be there with us, for us, somebody that's going to be listening to us, somebody that would be accessible to us, somebody that would feel our pain. And I think that these are some of the attributes or qualities that they are seeing in somebody like me. And like I said, that for me is the second step. If you look at the results, I don't know whether you've analyzed the results of the Woodson West in 2012. You realize that it's possible. If you look at the margins and if you look at the history of what happened in terms of people leaving one party and going independent, it's very possible that that situation can be turned around. But like I said, the most important thing is that the people believe that I have certain qualities, the people believe that they can work with me, and I believe if I get a mandate, the nod from the MPP primaries, the next hurdle will be something that is possible to deliver on.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thanks
for your time.
Well, we've been in a conversation with Mr. George Andah, a businessman, aspiring member of parliament, and who was actively associated with Occupy Ghana. Now he says he's taking a back seat. I want to hope that all of us have been beneficiaries of this conversation. And as I always do, please take my advice and leave your dial here, because the best in everything is on TV3.